Episode 37 of the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc anime has just released, and once again it has exceeded my expectations. This week's episode, titled Shadows Gone, adapts just under 4.5 chapters worth of manga material, and there is little to no anime exclusive additions. The first longer half of the episode features Nanao pressing Shunsui about a ZANPAKUTO that he has been hiding. We then see how destructive Lil Barrow's new transformation is, and we learn some critical details about the backstory of Shunsui and how this links back to Nanao's mother and the legendary ZANPAKUTO which belongs to the Issei clan, which is revealed to be the Shinken Hakyokan. The second half of this episode focuses on the resolution of the battle against Lil, with the episode ending with an exhausted Shunsui collapsing after the Quincy is defeated. We only have 2 more weeks left of Bleach anime episodes, so there is still quite a bit to look forward to, so be sure to stick around until the end of this video as I'll be talking about the incredible staff who have worked on this episode, and I'll also be revealing the total number of episodes in Core 3 and why we actually have 3 episodes left instead of 2. So without further delay, let's dive into my review and analysis of Bleach 1000-Year Blood War episode 37, Shadows Gone. We got really tired of the same old boring anime shirts, so we decided to launch Getsuga.com with the aim of creating designs inspired by our favorite anime and manga. We came up with designs that look cool and represent all of our favorite stories. Check out the latest Instinct collection, which features some amazing designs like this Frosted Heavens design inspired by Toshiro Hitsugaya, or this Instinct design inspired by Holo Ichigo, and my personal favorite, which is the Heart design, which was inspired by Ukiura Shifa. Do not miss out, go to Getsuga.com and wear your favorite stories. So episode 37 begins with a flashback before the opening song where we see content from chapter 653, and this is where Shunsui's older brother gifts Nanao's mother a couple of hairpins, but she requests for Shunsui's older brother to keep one of the hairpins because she is worried that when he is away fighting hollows, she states that she will feel comfort knowing that he has the other half of the hairpin with him. It's quite a touching flashback scene as Shunsui states to his older brother that he appears to have mellowed out, but he says that he doesn't think that he has, and if it does seem like that he has, then it's because of the kindness of Nanao's mother. Immediately following this, we cut straight back to the battlefield as Shunsui is impaled through the gut by a beam of light, as it's revealed that Lil Barrow has survived his Bankai. We then cut to the opening song as the episode begins in a very dramatic fashion. Following the opening, we do have a very brief flashback sequence of a young Shunsui waking up as he sees his sister-in-law. Following this, the battle against Lil Barrow continues, as Lil states that a mere Shinigami's Bankai is not enough to kill the messenger of God. While Shunsui kind of concedes defeat here and he feels like the situation is hopeless, especially if his Bankai was not enough to defeat the Sternritter, especially since he had severed Lil Barrow's head, as Shunsui desperately tries to escape the light of judgment of Lil, but it's at this point where he is utterly exhausted. Even his ZANPAKUTO states that if he did not die with his Bankai, then there is nothing more that she can do. With Shunsui closing his eyes to get some rest, Nanao grabs him, shaking him to wake up. She does make a shocking revelation here, telling Shunsui to release her ZANPAKUTO, telling him to forget about the promise that he had made to her mother. In order to escape the light of judgment of Lil Barrow, Shunsui brings Nanao into a dark realm, which appears to be an ability of his Shikai where he is playing that Kage Oni shadow game. Shunsui reveals that Nanao's ZANPAKUTO, which belongs to the Issei clan, is hidden within his spirit called Kyokotsu. Kyokotsu was created by his original ZANPAKUTO Katen for this purpose. We also learn about the Issei family curse where no men are born into the family, and it's for this reason that son-in-laws are usually adopted into the Issei family, and it was stated that all men who marry into the Issei family die early from the Issei curse. Nanao's mother had a similar situation as her husband had also died not too long after getting married. Here he reveals that Nanao's mother was married to Shunsui's older brother. He reiterates that he did not get along with his older brother, but things had changed after he had gotten married, and he was often visiting their home because the atmosphere was totally different. After Shunsui's brother had passed away, she was pretty much abandoned by the Kyoraku family and thus forced to return to the Issei family. In order to protect her daughter Nanao, she had made Shunsui make a promise with her to hide the sword of the Issei family. During this explanation, we see Nanao battling against Lil as she had emerged from Shunsui's shadow game, and she uses the Shinken Hakyoken to deflect the divine light of Lil Barrow. Nanao states that she is aware that he doesn't want her to have this sword because of the promise that he had made to her mother, but she states that she is also making a decision here to live with the curse of the Issei family. Wielding the Shinken Hakyoken, she challenges Lil for a final stand as he witnesses firsthand the ability of the sword to reflect the light of God. It is before the mid-card of the episode where we have details about the past of Nanao and how she had joined Shunsui's division, and when she had noted that Shunsui was the man that her mother had made a promise to. She made a couple of other observations, like Shunsui was wearing her mother's hairpins as well as her kimono. So after we learn all of the details about the moment when Shunsui's older brother had passed away and had entrusted him with the hairpins, we then see Shunsui appear behind Nanao as he helps her to wield the Shinken Hakyoken. The second half of the episode reveals that Nanao has injured her left leg. This was following one of the attacks of Lil Barrow, which was deflected by her sword but ended up grazing her leg. It is truly such a touching moment, and I fell in love with the way that the anime had adapted this moment. It was incredible seeing Shunsui support his lieutenant here while she was shaking and terrified of confronting Lil. He appears behind her and gives her support, helping her to deflect one of Lil's final attacks using the Shinken Hakyoken. This attack fires right back at Lil, gravely injuring the Sternritter as he appears to be defeated. The end of the episode literally shows us the first few pages of chapter 654, and this is where Shunsui carries Nanao to safety, and following this victory he literally collapses. Honestly, there's a solid amount of manga content which is adapted into episode 37, and all of the content is adapted so faithfully, and because of the incredible staff who have worked on the episode, all of the key moments which needed to be properly adapted end up looking fantastic in the anime. Speaking for the animation, I'd like to think that this episode didn't really demand a lot of animation, as a lot of it was flashbacks along with dialogue interactions between Shunsui and Nanao, and there were just basically two major attack sequences which needed to be animated well. Despite this, all of the staff who had worked on this episode stepped up when they needed to, and they really hit all of the marks that had mattered with episode 37. As usual, the art within the episode was both consistent and great. The visuals as well as the compositing were also stellar, especially for Lil Barrow's attack Trompette, which looked incredible here. We really were treated to a visual spectacle. This episode featured 5 animation directors, which included the ever consistent Hiroshi Natsuki, Minami Shiba, and our very own Toru Hasegawa, who has also doubled as the chief animation director for this episode. So it's very easy to tell why the art was so consistent throughout. Episode 37 was also storyboarded and directed by Shinichiro Ueda, and he was honestly a great help during Core 2 as he had storyboarded a few episodes and he did quite a great job with them. Despite the storyboard credit being given to Shinichiro Ueda, you could say that the storyboard was done entirely by Kubo, since this episode was so faithful to the manga, I mean down to every last panel. This may be disappointing to some of you because I know a lot of people wanted the Shinken Hakyoken to be rewritten so that it doesn't come across as such a deus ex machina, but it seems as though the anime has decided to remain faithful to the manga in this regard. This is slightly disappointing, I do have to admit, but to be honest, I never really had too much of a major issue with this part of the story anyway. It is a problem, but I mean, Bleach has this issue of having a specific villain fight a specific opponent, and that villain's very specific ability is countered by the very specific unique ability of the hero. It's just a flaw of the series that I'm very well aware of, so I try not to let it bother me too much. In terms of key animators, we had the Naruto veteran Tadashi Fukuda, and we also had Kyu Chen, who had appeared for their 3rd time in Core 3, along with Retsu Okawara and Yoshiki Nozawa, who I'm sure had contributed greatly to the episode's animation in one way or another. Now, I am crowning one animator as the MVP of episode 37, and this definitely has to be our own action and effects animation director, Takashi Hashimoto, and it's evident that he has absolutely carried this episode in so many ways. A few weeks ago, he had tweeted that he had done a lot of heavy great effects work on 2 action cuts in this episode, and he was excited to see how they turn out. And I think it's safe to say that he is honestly cooked. Everything about Lil's light effects looked absolutely gorgeous, from his basic light orbs all the way to the trumpet. I feel like I could make an entirely separate video talking about how visually spectacular that entire scene was, and I still wouldn't be able to do it justice. This was an amazing visual spectacle from Takashi Hashimoto, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. Aside from some of his heavy corrections for the trumpet cuts, he was also the overall action and effects animation director for this episode, so all the action and effects animation in episode 37 was corrected by him in one way or another. He really showed up and showed out on this episode, and I'm deeply grateful for it. Overall, this was yet again another incredible episode of Bleach. So here you have my initial thoughts of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War episode 37. It had remained very faithful to the manga with no real exclusive editions, and nothing was cut from the chapters that were adapted. I think that they are ready for the finale of Cour 3 now, but some of you may be wondering just how many episodes do we have left? Well, I can confirm that Cour 3 will actually have 14 episodes as opposed to the usual 13 episodes that each cour has had, and we have 2 more weeks of Bleach left. So next week we will be getting episode 38, then the following week on Saturday the 28th of December we will get episodes 39 and 40, thus bringing Cour 3 to an end. With Shunsui and Nanao vs Lil Barrow wrapped up, we now turn our attention towards Hashward vs Baz B with episode 38 titled Friend. Episode 38 titled Friend is named after volume 70 of the manga. Episode 38 is going to go back and adapt content from chapters 630 to 634. And in terms of what we're going to get after that, well, you know that Cour 3 had started with a lot of anime exclusive editions with multiple 10-minute sequences which weren't in the manga, like Uryu vs Ichigo, Ukitake's flashback, and Uryu vs Renji. However, the last 4 episodes of Bleach that I've just aired have largely been faithful to the manga, covering content from Mayuri's fight against Pernida and Shunsui's battle against Lil. So I am looking forward to the anime now fleshing out the fight between Baz B and Hashward. There is also a major flashback of their past here which reveals details about the history of the Quincy, and I have really high expectations for the anime to flesh this out. I may well be setting myself up for disappointment, but I think that Kubo and the anime staff have been preparing something special for the finale of Cour 3. I mean, how else can they end Cour 3? Will we be seeing Askin vs Yoruichi? Will we see Kira return to battle the Flamingo Lil creatures? Or will we see round 2 of Uryu vs Ichigo? Let me know your predictions for the finale of Cour 3, and what were your thoughts about episode 37 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow for my manga versus anime comparison for the latest episode of Bleach.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.